Hello, my name is Elijah Cox, and today I will be presenting Weaving the Emperor's Suit, American Perceptions on Immigration under President Trump. According to the United Nations, there were approximately 22.5 million refugees within the world as of 2017. Refugees are individuals who have been forced to flee their home country because of persecution, war, or violence. Given the ever-growing threat and violence experienced by those who are currently living in Central America, paired with encouraged hostility towards refugees and asylum seekers within the United States, there's desperate need for research into the levels of ethnocentrism within the American public and a willingness to engage in the efforts to support the human rights of asylum seekers. The purpose of this research is to explore American perceptions under President Trump's administration regarding immigration and the policies placed by said powers to control the influx of migrants along the southern border. The study is significant for four specific reasons. First, the distinction between a voluntary migrant and a refugee must be detailed to gain insight into the factors considered by both groups for relocation. Second, a clear definition of asylum must be stated from a historical perspective in order to demonstrate the current legality of said title. Third, immigration within the United States during President Trump's administration must be analyzed, along with the policies that have been implemented to achieve control. And last, with an understanding of the overall American population's view of authority and policies, there will come a better comprehension within today's political climate regarding immigration. Although the definition of a refugee encompasses identities and experiences that are shared within all people, political asylum in the United States has been manipulated to see only those experiences and identities that can be articulated as solitary and separate from others. Those situations which are unworthy of protection, according to the United States, are done because of reasons of displacement, such as violence, crime, and natural disaster, and their scale. Protection under asylum does not extend to conditions that are countrywide, ordinary, shared, general, or societal. There's a clear distinction between someone who voluntarily migrates and that of a refugee who is involuntarily forced to leave their country of origin. See, refugees have fled their countries because of persecution, fear of death, disease, poverty, and a multitude of other reasons. People are most likely to leave and seek asylum if they have been the victims of crime, and they frequently see the risk of traveling to the United States without documentation as less severe than the risk of remaining in their home country. Currently, most migrants and refugees are coming from Central and Southern America. Many of them are unaware of the asylum process awaiting them when they arrive. Others, fearing that they will not be granted asylum, have decided to migrate to Mexico and then into the United States with no type of legal documentation. A refugee, according to the General Assembly of 1951, is unable or unwilling to return to their country of origin, owing to a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or because of political opinion. The 1980 Refugee Act defines refugee status as holding certain entitlements. These entitlements are education, employment, housing, social security, freedom to travel, a pathway to citizenship, and ability to give legal status to any family who seeks it, and it prohibits states from returning refugees to a known persecutor and from penalizing their unauthorized entry and presence. The United Nations Protocol and US statutory law does not establish numerical limits for the number of people from a given country who can qualify for asylum. However, legalities can reject undesirable asylum seekers by scaling up their identities and experiences, claiming that since they are shared by too many others, they are not singularly persecuted and thus not available to seek asylum. It's important to understand the previous policies in place to deter migrants and immigration. In 2001, the US Patriot Act created the Department of Homeland Security. In 2004, the National Intelligence Reform and Terrorism and Protection Act provided more funds and resources to the Border Patrol, and created detention centers. In 2006, the Secure Fence Act authorized the Border Patrol to erect new fences, checkpoints, vehicle barriers, and other equipment. In 2010, the Border Security Act funded the hiring of 3,000 more Border Patrol agents and increased the budget by $244 million. In 2018, President Trump sent more than 5,000 active service members of the United States military to reinforce the southern border in response to the migrant crisis. Policies that have specifically been implemented under President Trump's term in office include ending the deferred action for child arrivals, an escalation of raids on places of employment by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and a zero-tolerance policy that has led to the separation of children from their parents at the border and detainment of entire families. Current perceptions that Americans hold about these policies, specifically from under President Trump, are divided, and there's no such scientific study to justify such divide. In order to understand, there was a random sample of 1,018 adults conducted who were of 18 years of age or older, all of which were living within the United States, and they included respondents from every single state. The data collection process was conducted by a stratified single-stage random digit dialing sample of landline households and randomly generated cell phone numbers. The independent variables assessed were age, race, sex, income, US or foreign born, and political party. The dependent variables for the study include building a wall along the US border with Mexico, requiring policies to check the immigration status of a person that has been stopped or detained if they suspect the person of being in the country illegally, passing laws to prevent refugees from entering the United States, and an immigration border policy that separates children from their parents and charges parents as criminals when they enter the country without permission. The respondents were asked if they strongly favor, oppose, strongly oppose, or don't know and refused their responses to these questions. On the first point, their highest was a strongly oppose of 36%. On the second point of requiring police to check immigration status, the highest was a favor of 25%. On the third point of passing laws to prevent refugees, there was a strongly opposed of 30%. And on an immigration border policy that separates children from their parents, there was a strongly opposed of 45%. The results that I found on conducting an analysis with the results indicates that their average respondent was 54, a white non-Hispanic, identified as an independent party, a female, a US-born citizen, and had an income of $50,000 to $75,000 a year. I conducted a regression analysis of Trump's policies by age, race, sex, income, citizenship, and political party, finding the significance within each of these independent variables in relation to the dependent variables. In this research, the findings that I found are that the individuals who are most likely to support border walls are based on age, sex, and political party. Support for requiring police to check immigration status are likely predicted by race, sex, and political party. Support for passing laws to prevent refugees are significantly shown by their sex. And finally, those who support the separation of children from their parents from the border are dependent on political party. So each independent variable had significance with the dependent variables depending on political party, sex, race, age, and income. There's a strong statistical correlation between the political party identified by the respondent and the dependent variables, with the second strongest correlation lying between the sex of the respondent and the dependent variables. Differentiating levels of correlation exist between age, sex, race, income, and citizenship with the dependent variables. One can see that the levels of ethnocentrism within the American public and the willingness to engage in efforts to support the human rights of asylum seekers differentiate among race, sex, age, income, political party, and citizenship. It is possible to predict by demographics how individuals respond to the policies in place by President Trump regarding immigration and asylum. One of the primary limitations to the study was the exclusion of religion in the analysis, which is important given the current political climate in the United States. Second, there was also an exclusion of regional differences, which was not taken into consideration during the initial evaluation of each participant. For the future of this study, it's ideally used to predict the next administrative move regarding immigration by President Trump and how that move appeals to his base constituents. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at ecox0004@leeu.edu. Thank you.